The police department received a call. Police department, how can I help you? I have a headache. I think someone hit my head with something hard, the young man reported. Shortly after, several police cars and an ambulance arrived near his home. The officers entered to find a powerless man lying on the sofa. "Could you tell us what happened?" one of the officers asked. The man explained, "Last night, when I was coming home late, I saw a young woman standing on the side of the street. She looked like she was waiting for a taxi. The street was empty, so I stopped near her and asked, 'Can I help you?' She said, 'I ordered a taxi, but it hasn't come yet.' I suggested she call the taxi company to check on the delay. She dialed a number, and after a brief conversation, told me the taxi broke down on its way, and they have no more available taxis for me. Seeing her situation, I decided to drive her to a busier street where she could find another ride. On the way, she talked about herself and mentioned that she was an interior designer. I told her that I was considering redecorating my dining room and asked if she would be interested in taking a look. She took my number and said, 'I can come to your home after 8 p.m. one day.' A few nights later, she called and said she wanted to come over. That night, I poured 2 drinks to welcome her. I went to the kitchen to get some ice, and suddenly, everything went black. I must have fainted. When I regained consciousness, she was gone, along with all the valuable items in my house. I immediately knew she had taken them. But what struck me as strange was that my safe box, hidden in a place where no one should have found it, had been opened. I have no idea how she managed to locate it and take the contents." Following the statements of the young man, now identified as Ryan, a team of detectives was assigned to investigate. After reviewing the CCTV footage from Ryan's house, they discovered images of 3 thieves. 2 of them were women dressed as men, wearing hats and masks, waiting outside. When their accomplice, posing as the interior designer, gained entry into Ryan's house, the others followed shortly after, executing their well-planned heist. When shown the footage, Ryan recognized one of the thieves. "One of them looks very similar to my ex, Natalie. We had a falling out some time ago and broke up." The case took a new turn, and the police prepared to track down the culprits, uncovering the layers of deception behind what first appeared to be a simple robbery. Following Ryan's remarks, the investigating agents looked into his acquaintances and arrested Natalie, his former fiancée. The investigation uncovered that Natalie was part of a larger group of 3 women, including Coral and Narcissa. These 3 were known to frequent a park in the east for exercise, where they had formed a close bond. Coral explained, "We 3 friends had another common ground besides being athletes. We had all been betrayed by the men we loved and wanted revenge." She continued, "I fell in love with a man who later turned out to be married with children. Narcissa met John at a party, but he broke up with her after learning about her modest financial situation. Mia, another member of our group, had a similar experience, but before she could take revenge, we were arrested." When asked how they came up with their plan, they admitted, "We were inspired by a movie about women taking revenge on men. We decided to execute a similar plan." The women claimed their motivation was not money, but revenge. However, their crimes had real consequences. They had stolen over thousands of dollars worth of valuables, though they insisted they had never intended to harm anyone physically. During further interrogations, a new lead emerged. John's wife reported that her husband had gone missing for some time, though they only realized it late due to his busy work schedule. The case took a dark turn as suspicions arose regarding the gang's involvement in his disappearance. The final interrogations revealed conflicting stories. While one suspect insisted, "We just stole from him. We didn't hurt him," two others repeated the same statement verbatim. With the investigation ongoing, the police prepared to uncover the full truth behind the mysterious crimes. Everything was resolved except for the mystery of John's disappearance. The authorities were deeply investigating, trying to find any clue about his whereabouts. Based on the timeline of events, Coral, Mia, and Natalie had visited John's house 2 months prior, but he had gone missing a month later. This led to an extensive investigation. Surveillance footage from around John's home was analyzed, confirming that the 3 women had left after robbing him. However, John had returned home afterward. Further inquiries revealed that one day, Coral had contacted John, saying, "I miss you. I want to see you." John, assuming his wife was not home at the time, agreed to meet. That night, Coral arrived at John's house, bringing Narcissus and Mia along. Using the same trick as before, they drugged John, looted his valuables, and fled. Text messages and call logs showed that John had been unharmed on the night of the robbery. However, after realizing his home had been ransacked, he repeatedly sent angry messages and threats to Coral, demanding the return of his stolen belongings. His final message read, "My wife found out everything. She is not like me. She will not let this go." That message stood out to the investigators. When John's wife, Zara, was questioned about why she hadn't reported the missing furniture and valuables, she explained, "I thought maybe John needed money and sold everything without telling me." However, the case took an unexpected turn when a neighbor testified that they had seen Zara in the parking lot late one night, looking extremely distressed. This led investigators to search Zara's car, where they discovered traces of blood. At first, Zara denied everything, but under pressure, she eventually confessed. She revealed that after discovering the robbery, John had been acting strangely. He had tried to keep everything a secret, but under Zara's persistent questioning, he finally admitted everything. The betrayal was too much for her to bear. In a fit of rage, Zara confronted John. The argument escalated until, in a moment of uncontrollable fury, she grabbed a kitchen knife and stabbed him. When she came to her senses, she was horrified to see her husband lying in a pool of blood. Panicked, she wrapped his body in a blanket, placed it in her car, and drove to a remote location to dispose of it. Their young daughter had been staying at her grandmother's house that night, unaware of the tragedy that had unfolded. With the mystery finally solved, Zara was put on trial. John's family, devastated by his death, demanded the death penalty. However, as time passed, they saw how deeply their granddaughter suffered. Losing both parents would leave her completely alone. Overcome with sorrow, they decided to withdraw their request for Zara's execution. Eventually, Zara was released, but the scars of that fateful night would remain forever.